Hey everyone, welcome back to Observe. In today's video, we're going to be analyzing the nonverbal communication of Dylan Mulvaney. More on that in just a second. Let's go ahead and roll the intro. This video is brought to us today thanks to the generosity of our friends over at NordVPN. We are already a month into the new year, and if you are like me, productivity and growth are some pretty big goals for the year. One way that I am bumping up my personal productivity is by getting out of my house and into coffee shops, cafes, libraries, places like that to be able to get my work done. The change of scenery really gives a little extra boost to my mind to keep it active. If you're like me and you also plan on going out and about and visiting said coffee shops and other places for work or school during these cooler months, then I suggest you sign up for NordVPN so that you can protect your online data. The public Wi-Fi that you find in these shops and similar locations is vulnerable to cyber attacks by people looking to steal your personal information. NordVPN provides a number of security features that help keep your data safe and secure behind a wall of next-generation encryption. You do this by connecting to one of the over 5,400 private servers located across the world. By joining one of these servers, you will not only be protecting your data, but you will also be masking your true location, allowing you to enjoy the global experience of the internet. They recently added a new feature called Threat Protection. With Threat Protection, you can improve your cybersecurity by using Nord's desktop app. Once it is activated, it guards against malicious websites, downloads, trackers, and intrusive ads. It's always on the lookout, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time, so you can now browse the internet with greater confidence in general. So, with NordVPN, you can take control of your internet experience right now. When you go to nordvpn.com/observe, you can get a 2-year plan at a huge discount plus an extra month for free. With Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee, you have absolutely nothing to lose. Again, that is nordvpn.com/observe, or click the link in the description of this video. Thank you again to NordVPN for sponsoring this video, and back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, for those of you who do not know, Dylan Mulvaney is a trans actress who is active in the comedy and content creation industries as well. Her films that went viral on TikTok and Instagram have racked up over 1 billion views between the two platforms. She was given the TikTok Trailblazer Award in 2022 for her viral series, Days of Girlhood, which documented her transition journey. After graduating from the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, Dylan played Elder White in the Broadway musical adaptation of The Book of Mormon. Dylan lives in Los Angeles and has the ambition of bringing trans stories to the attention of the general public. She also had facial feminization surgery, also known as FFS, back in December of 2022. This term is commonly used to refer to gender-affirming treatments that are used to give a more feminine appearance to a person's face. She was open and honest about undergoing the surgery at the end of the year before taking some time off to be able to heal. In an update video she released at the beginning of the year, she stated that she is the happiest that she has ever been. Now, in today's video, what we are going to be doing is going through Dylan's time online to see how their nonverbal communication has evolved throughout their career, more or less, handling various moments of both controversy and then also finding themselves as themselves throughout their journey. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and start at the very beginning here, and we'll kind of talk about what we see as we go along here. Let's start.
Coming live from ostrich land. This here's Polly, a Peruvian ostrich. That a girl.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause. First little tiny TikTok here. Most of the content, actually all of the content that we'll be reacting to is going to be from TikTok today. But what we're able to see here is this is during Dylan's time as identifying as a gay man. And what we're noticing non-verbally speaking is a lot of stiffness. And that comes out both in the shoulders, and then you can even see it even down to the clenching of a fist as she's going to talk. And so this stiffness and stiltedness is very common when a person is feeling uncomfortable, either in the situation that they are in or in and of themselves. So that's something that we want to be able to make note of. However, we can even still see that she's quite comfortable at least talking to a camera, so that is important to be able to note. But let's continue on. This is a little bit further down the line here, and let's see how her nonverbal communication progresses throughout this.
I'm Dylan, and I'm here. I'm Dylan, and I'm here at the Grand Canyon wearing my soccer. I'm Dylan Mulvaney, and I'm here at the Grand Canyon wearing my soccer uniform from the first grade. I haven't seen one single person since I've been here, so if I get mauled by a bear or go falling off this cliff, good luck finding me. So Dylan, what brought you to the Grand Canyon? Good question. An existential crisis. Is it helping? Only time will tell.
Okay, pausing again here. Now what you can see has happened between the two different videos here is a certain level of fluidity has come into her nonverbal communication as she's become a little bit more comfortable with who she is. Now that also falls in line with the femininity that she identifies with. So now what we're able to gather non-verbally here is as she was presenting more male, there was a level of discomfort that would even show up non-verbally. Now this could be because also of the time span between the two different videos being shot. Perhaps the earlier one, she was just more less comfortable as opposed to the later one. But even in this second clip that we just watched, you could see that as the video goes on, she becomes more comfortable and more fluid and dynamic with her nonverbal communication, and it becomes more synchronized. At the beginning, you see all the cuts and the changes and everything along those lines, and during that time, you could see that stiltedness come in. However, it's still displaying a little bit more fluidly than it was before. Now, as we continue forward, we will be able to start seeing more and more of what Dylan's authentic nonverbal communication that she feels the most comfortable presenting appears as to the viewer here. Let's continue watching.
I'm Dylan. Today is my birthday, and I'm throwing a gender reveal party. And no, I'm not pregnant. It's for myself. I'm non-binary. I'm dropping the he, and my new pronouns are they, them, theirs. Sure.
All right, so we'll go ahead and pause that there as well. So during this time now, you can see that she is settling more into what her authentic self is, and this will continue to come out during this specific clip. All that we're seeing is this new wave that we brought into the repertoire, and that does pop up again and again throughout the rest of her videos, and that is something that comes more naturally to her. We're going to continue on through this and be able to see just how she develops. Now, what I find interesting is that even though things have been changing for her, she has been maintaining this same core self, core identity that has always been there, even though she's unearthing aspects of herself, and we're privy to see it. So we're able to see both of those reflecting through. You watch a video, you understand, and you could feel that it is still Dylan. However, there seems to be something more natural as time continues on. And this is important to be able to note because that means even non-verbally that what we're seeing is the natural progression for her psychologically. And that's very important to note, especially in this sort of transition. So let's continue on forward.
It's a they question of the day. This is going to be a longer one, so bear with me. A friend asks, how did I come to the conclusion that I was non-binary? And is it something that I always felt? What a perfect question for my coming out story. So it all started when I came out of the womb tap dancing in a bedazzled onesie. Just kidding, I'm going to fast forward. I didn't know about the non-binary gender identity till spring of 2020. And that's coming from an out and proud member of the LGBTQ plus community. It wasn't until a few of my peers came out on social media and a global pandemic had to happen for me to actually think, wait, is that what I am? I was extremely feminine growing up, and it's interesting because when I came out to my mom as non-binary, afterwards she told me that when I was 4 years old, I came to her and I said, Mom, I think God made a mistake and put a girl into a boy's body. And she, of course, said, no, God doesn't make mistakes. But how crazy that a 4-year-old could understand the concept of gender and knew that something was wrong. Growing up,
I'm going to go ahead and pause here and just make some notes of some things. So during this time, I'm paying attention to a lot of different avenues of her nonverbal communication, both where her eyes are looking, how her face is moving, whether or not it's synchronized, and then along with that, if the body's movement is also synchronized with what the face is displaying. And from all of this, this is very fluid. So she's settling more and more into who she is. And even though she's talking to a camera, which obviously everybody has some level of preparation before they talk to a camera, we're still able to see this fluid nonverbal communication coming from her. And you could start seeing some of the very classic hand gestures that she specifically uses throughout her videos. Now, in regards to some of the other aspects of what she's talking about, it's frustrating and sad to be able to hear somebody say, no, you must be thinking wrong. It's definitely this other way and whatnot, because it's not up to another person to say what another person feels about themselves ever. So with that in mind, that's a little discouraging to hear that she faced that sort of pushback initially. However, as we're seeing this, we're able to see that she's quite comfortable. Her face stays quite relaxed, and it's all fluid all the way throughout. So she's being an authentic version of herself as displayed by her nonverbal communication, which just lets us know none of what is happening here is for show. It's not fake. It's nothing along any of those lines. This is the genuine Dylan that we're being able to start seeing. Let's continue watching.
Growing up, I was told that men didn't look the way or act the way that I did, and that femininity in boys was something to be really ashamed of. But I was always just Dylan. And in the moments that I tried to be more masculine or wear, more clothes that looked more like a guy, those were the most uncomfortable moments of my life.
I'm going to go ahead and pause it there and then call back from earlier in this video when we were watching one of those examples and talking about the nonverbal communication around it, the nonverbal communication that indicated to us that she was not feeling comfortable, that there was a level of nervousness, perhaps at very least she was uncomfortable. And hearing that here, that then reaffirms and lets us know that we are seeing the genuine nonverbal communication from Dylan. And that's very encouraging to see, to be able to see that sort of contrast drawn for us so very clearly is rare, and it's very, very nice to be able to see it here. And she herself affirms it for us. So let's keep watching.
And I remember being terribly bullied in middle school locker rooms and then in high school. And in those moments, I shed parts of myself.
So during that time of recollecting being bullied, closing of the eyes, lowering of the eyebrows, this sort of behavior is very common for a number of different reasons, especially when talking about troubling things from your past. One can indicate a blocking behavior, a blocking gesture. So if you see somebody, then they suddenly close their eyes off to something for a very long time. In regards to something that might be negative, it could be considered a blocking gesture. That also has been centered around the if somebody's lying, things like that, that's not necessarily true. However, that closing of the eyes is also an indicator that they are thinking back or remembering what they're experiencing at that time, and it's more easily done with your eyes closed. This is also why people will stare off into space when they're remembering something, because the act of looking at and engaging on something, that makes it to where your brain engages. So if you stare into space, if you close your eyes, it's much easier to do, and it means that you're genuinely recollecting something. With that in mind, let's continue.
So that other people could be more comfortable. And now just today, I am rediscovering those pieces that I left behind years ago. After a few months, I found a fabulous gender specialist to talk to, and he basically was like, you didn't need me to confirm that you were non-binary. You already knew that coming in. But it's so nice to have a little bit of support from a medical professional. I finally came out publicly 6 months after the first time I told someone I was non-binary. Looking back, I've lived...
Ooh, there the little interesting thing that happened there while she was saying that she came out, that she was non-binary. She goes and she pulls her arm across in here, does a little bit of a massaging gesture over here. So this self-soothing gesture is very common, especially if there's an area where they feel like there's a possibility of being attacked. And shockingly, this would be an area that people who are not so kind would attack another person for. So seeing that come in, that lets us know that she's actually emoting non-verbally quite genuinely to the camera, despite it being a camera conversation. So seeing that self-soothing gesture in there just lets us know that we're seeing a genuine person as well. Let's continue watching.
Lived so much of my life feeling that way, if not all of it, and I just didn't have a word for it. But now I do, and it's so nice to just be Dylan and letting that be enough. And I've never been happier. I just feel like God. And
so that increase in pitch and tension, that lets me know that that was maybe a little bit pushed, that I've never been happier. I don't doubt that she has not. I believe her. to put it simply. I believe that she hasn't ever been happier because as you continue to find out more about yourself, who you genuinely are, happiness usually will follow in along with that. So with that being the case, however, I do believe that that was a little bit pushed for the sake of the video. Non-verbally speaking, we're not saying that she wasn't happy or anything like that. It's just interesting to be able to make note of. Let's continue.
And the universe and everything in my life is sort of clicking in right now like a shoe into a SoulCycle bike. But really, I just want the little Dylans of this world to feel like they're safe and that they deserve to be here and that they can live fabulous lives because I grew up not feeling that way. So let's make them feel supported.
And also, I like, just on that note, nothing non-verbally, I agree 100%. For all of the kids who grew up in circles where this is not allowed or encouraged or anything like that, or even further down that path, it's very discouraged or said that it's sinful or evil or what other nonsense that you could think of. We need people that are in front of people. And so Dylan is stepping into this role and having such an amazingly positive impact, especially in the trans community, and bringing it to the eye of the public in a way that's very, very consumable. Their content is always very positive and very sweet. So being able to have them also here on the channel and then be able to verify that what we're seeing is a genuine human being, being genuine, nothing for show, but actually showing how they actually came to know themselves is just a wonderful thing. So I feel honored to be able to be a part of that story, and we're going to continue watching it.
See ya. It's a they euphoria of the day. It's my first trip to the hormone doctor. I wore pink for obvious reasons, but I also wore black to grieve boy Dylan, who we absolutely loved, but is no longer with us. There was an insane amount of paperwork, but that makes sense since this is a pretty big deal. And I was there for hours, but the appointment went great. Oh my gosh, I just left the doctor's office and it went so well. It was serious at times, but very informative. And they even gave me a Target gift card. And I left with a prescription for estrogen and a testosterone blocker. But I'm not sure if I'm going to start them yet because this is a huge life decision that I think I should really think through and take some time to decide for myself. But I'm just happy to be making these leaps and bounds, and I will keep you updated on what I decide. But thank you for coming along on the journey. Woohoo!
Okay, so we'll go ahead and pause it again here. You're starting to see her feel quite comfortable with who she is in front of a camera. All of her nonverbal communication is becoming more and more fluid as she continues on through this with this new style of baseline that is developing that has more dynamic to it and fits with her personality a lot more. So that's positive to see. That's a good thing to be able to see. And so we're going to continue on through. Now this is going to be day 171 of girlhood, as she puts here. And let's just see how her nonverbal communication has developed so far.
Day 171 of being a girl, and tomorrow is a very big day. I have my consult for my first transition surgery. Woo! And I'm going to one of the top doctors to talk about my FFS, which is facial feminization surgery, and maybe we're going to talk about boobs. That's TBA. And I'm not sure yet if I'm going to make a video while I'm there because I need to be protecting my heart and make sure that if I'm in a good place to share, I will. But I want to do a deconstructing Dylan tonight to talk about why this surgery is so important to me and what I see when I look in the mirror.
I'm going to go ahead and pause here. So something that I've noticed about this specific clip is that the happiness, the joy that's there, it does feel lightly forced. And this is through a number of different desynchronized moves, even with the woohoo, like it's just lightly desynchronized, which lets me know that it is being put on lightly. So in this, that would let us know at the beginning of this video that there's something somber coming up because the joy that's being presented, while still likely present on some level, is not to the degree that she's presenting it at. So what I would be doing in this time would be waiting. Like, what's the downer that's about to happen? And let's just see how that plays out.
So when I look in the mirror while wearing makeup and all dolled up, I see a woman, but not the woman I hope to be. I have skepticism with her. I have doubts. We're frenemies. And as I slowly start to take off my armor, I start being really mean to her because I'm reminded of the person that I used to be, which is a boy. The brow bone, the Adam's apple, the facial hair, it can all feel very triggering. And no matter how beautiful or feminine I feel in full glam when I take it off, it is nearly impossible to not let those really dark, mean thoughts creep in. And I wish that I didn't care so much about the externals. I mean, there's plenty of trans people that don't want or need these things. But I know just how happy that I will feel to wake up in the morning and to not have to cake on layers of paint. I'll be able to be the clean girl aesthetic because I will look in the mirror and see the woman from the get-go right away. And
I'm going to go ahead and pause it here because I want to make an important note. During this time, Dylan never shows any indication of shame, and that's fantastic. That is such a good indicator that she's actually proud and confident in who she is, and it's not hearing all of the negative hate speech that people can throw out about the transition that she's going through. So being able to see it's very heartening and very encouraging to be able to do. However, along with that, we are able to see a lot more of the sadness come in around her eyes as the muscles relax, and even the smile that she regularly has in a lot of her videos has fully fallen away from her face while talking about the difficult psychological issues that she has in regards to her appearance and how it does not line up with how she feels or feels like she should represent. So it's sad to see, but it is encouraging to see that there's not shame involved in that, because that's tragic. And nobody going through a transition like this should feel shame. And it's only through the people around being terrible people that shame really comes and manifests. It's both good and sad to be able to see the display that we're seeing here non-verbally, but it is affirming that the person that we're looking at and the person that we're hearing and experiencing here is being genuine to us. And that allows us to be able to relate to them even on a subconscious level, as it's easier to relate to a person that we sense is being genuine than somebody who's forcing or faking everything. Let's continue.
And I'm so lucky to live in a world where I can make this happen for myself. And there's no part of me that thinks that I'm going to regret doing this, because this is what I want right now. But what about in 30 years, if you don't like it? I'm an adult, and this is what I want right now. And if you're nervous about that, well, I would love for you to pop into my brain for a second and hear some of those dark thoughts, because I think pretty quickly you would understand why and how necessary it is to make these things accessible to trans people like me. And now the surgery itself won't be planned for...
I'm going to go ahead and pause it here. So during that time, this is something to just make note about how Dylan is addressing naysayers, so to speak. She's not lashing out at them. She's not saying, well, screw you, or you're the worst person, or anything like that. Her response to this criticism is to welcome people in, which is a fantastic indicator of a genuine person. And once again, non-verbally speaking, we're still in this same sort of solemn style of nonverbal presentation, which does make sense. It is synchronized. And it is still sad, the reasons that there is sadness around this, but let's continue watching.
Health won't be planned for a bit. I'm hoping to get a surgery date tomorrow, but in the meantime, I'm going to try my best to keep the mean thoughts to a minimum and just celebrate this current body that I'm in. Okay. I love ya.
So has the prominent no shake in there while saying that I'm going to try to keep the negative thoughts to a minimum. Not positive here. I would not be too surprised if during this time Dylan had been struggling with some negative thoughts. To see that nonverbal communication coming out, trying to keep them to a minimum, is even their way of admitting, yeah, they're happening regularly, but I'm trying to manage them. I'm trying to keep them to a minimum. And that is showing up in their nonverbal communication, even as they're saying something negative, and the no shake is coming in there as well. Now we're seeing this classic bye and the hand wave that we saw come in very, very early on. Let's continue watching.
Guys, it's day 4 of being a girl.
Hello. First of all, I would never open my video saying,
Hey guys.
so you got that part wrong. Second of all, I don't know your name, and that really bothers me, because when I talk to someone, I like to know their name. And third of all, I know that this is what you want. You want me to respond, you want me to react, you want attention. And I've seen your videos for a few weeks, if not months now. I didn't have time to respond to those. I was really busy, auditioning to be in movies. And now I actually just walked as a model in New York Fashion Week on a runway. So sorry I didn't get to you sooner. But
this I just have to give kudos to, because in this handling of this hater online person who is stabbing fun or comedy at Dylan, she takes that, addresses it in a very, very straightforward manner, also brings a humanization to it by wanting to know the person's name, and then going through and being like, I'm so sorry I didn't have time to more or less waste on your ignorance, is what she's communicating, is I didn't have time because I was doing too many great things. And that's so fantastic, is that she has the ability to be able to do great things while all of these people are being terrible towards her. So that's very, very positive to be able to see. Now we're seeing a lot of the same hand gestures that we have seen throughout the rest of these. So even during this time that she is addressing a hater, she is still presenting genuine nonverbal communication. We'll probably see a lot more defensive gestures come out where the palms will be facing outwards, but that would be expected in regards to dealing with somebody who is putting hate in their direction. So let's continue watching that real quick.
what you're doing, I think, is comedy in your mind. It's, I see that you're putting a lot of time and energy and, maybe even money. I saw you buy some of those heart-shaped sunglasses that I love to wear. So obviously I influenced you to buy something, but you're doing all those things to mock me. More specifically, you just kind of, I think, hate trans people, which you can make fun of my voice or my outfits or, my personality as much as you want, but you don't get to mock my identity. And I think you believe that I'm taking away from your womanhood when, babe, I am here to support you in any way I can. And that's why I wanted to give you some advice on,
all during this time, all of her nonverbal communication is very open. We're not seeing any closing off. She's not folding her arms. She's also not clenching her hands. It's all very open. We are seeing the defensive gestures come in like we kind of expected. But even when it's not defensive, all of her nonverbal communication conveys openness. And that is a fairly solid indicator of authenticity throughout this clip as she's addressing this person. And with that, she's also calling to light that a platform built off of hating on other people, not necessarily the best way to go. And she'll continue to unpack that. But let's go ahead and continue watching, and then we'll talk about it a bit more.
Advice on, this career path of you being a comedian, or maybe you want to be on SNL. I don't know what your whole gimmick is. But the fact that all of your comedy is so lowbrow, and it's sort of the lowest form of comedy, in my opinion, and you have a few people that enjoy your videos right now, but that's not going to last for very long. It's gotten old already. And I'm very glad that you're doing it to me and not to another trans person, because I'm okay right now. My life is going very well. I feel pretty happy.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause here. So yes, building your platform off of hate is a ridiculous thing to do. It never goes far. Negativity will not go far in that way. So that makes sense. Absolutely. Now, what we're also seeing is that she's saying, I'm okay right now. And she does a pretty substantial no shake. So during that time, there are two possible things for that. It's either one, desynchronization, and she's not doing okay right now. Or two, it's centered around the, you might not believe, but I am doing okay right now. Now, in the narrative that she is presenting, that one makes more sense. However, since it is one of those possible tells with two different outcomes, we just have to make note of it, keep track of it, and compare and contrast with the rest of everything in context. But let's go ahead and continue seeing how she addresses this person.
Happy, but if you had made this video while I was maybe depressed or, God forbid, suicidal, that could be really effed up. And that would be on you. That would be evil of you. It is evil. And I can't have you making these videos about other trans people. That's why I'm glad it's about me and not about them, because I don't know how other trans people's mental health is right now. So I'm okay. I don't know about them. So I'm glad it's me and you right now. I'm glad we're doing this. But
during this time, what you'll notice is that her smile never reaches her eyes. That's important to note, because that lets us know that the smile that's being put on is being polite. If you want to be able to see the authentic side of things, look at the upper half of her face. Her eyes continually narrow and her eyebrows continually draw inwards and downwards. And these are both signs of low-grade aggression and could be even mixed in with things like scorn or anger. And that makes sense, even to where she politely says that this person who is making fun of trans people is being evil. That really does paint a pretty clear verbal picture as to how she's actually feeling, while still trying to be very sweet and polite. She is not giving on her side. And that's very important to know, because that also coincides with the confidence that we saw in her throughout the other videos of her being her genuine self. Even during these times of possible not so hot feedback from people, she still stands very firm in that. And I appreciate that, because it allows us to know that from her perspective, which this is the only perspective that counts right now, from her perspective, she's being authentic and genuine to herself. That is being non-verbally displayed quite clearly. Let's continue watching.
But here's the reality. This world is so messed up right now. There's so much horrible things that are happening. And, we could all go away at any moment. Like, who knows what's going to happen, asteroid. But how sad would it be if you left this earth, God forbid, if you left this earth as the woman who hated trans people? Like, that's kind of a sucky title. Maybe that would make you happy. But that doesn't sound good, doesn't feel good. And I really find it so wild that you think that all I see in girlhood is wearing dresses and makeup and hair, because that's not what I'm doing here. And if you actually knew me, and if you knew who I am and why I'm doing all this, you would know that those things really don't have all that much to do with it. And that kind of makes you also a bad comedian or a bad imitator, because you're not actually doing what I'm doing and why I'm here. You don't know your subject. You don't know who you're playing. But I will tell you that I'm a good person. I have a good heart. I'm a woman. And I'm not going to say I'm more of a woman than you are. I know that would make you scoff. But because I see us as equals, I'm a woman. And I don't know what else to tell you, but I appreciate your time and energy that you're putting into this. I really think that you should find something else to put this energy into, maybe something that can be enjoyed by more people than just transphobic people, because I don't know if that's the best crowd. I don't know if that's how you're going to get on SNL, or if you're going to book a movie. I don't know what your dreams and desires are, but my dreams are happening right now, and the world sees me for who I am, which is a girl. And I know that's just driving you absolutely crazy, but we're going to have to get over it. Okay. I wish you no ill will. And, I would love to see you use your time in a more productive way. But that's it. I'm going to go,
a little bit of uncertainty creeping in here at the very, very end. I really wish you no ill will. Steps back, kind of does a little bit of close up, and it has having some shrugs and whatnot in there. However, that would make sense. Also, there might be some aggression or some upset feelings reciprocated from both sides. If one person's being very hateful, then the person who is being hated upon might have some negative feelings towards the other person. So that would make sense that would pop up there, non-verbally speaking. However, I also do just appreciate that she's not standing for the ignorance that this person making fun of her is displaying all the way around. And not only just for her own sake, which is important, but for the sake of the people that follow her, or the people that are inspired by her or feel like they have a voice because of her. So it's a very encouraging thing to see. And I really appreciate her being so kind while not taking any garbage from this person. It's a fantastic way to handle conflict. I really have to give her kudos for that. Let's keep watching.
Order some room service now and get ready for a whole day of Fashion Week tomorrow. And maybe I'll go text some friends that make me feel good. I recommend you find some friends who make you feel good, and maybe that will help you and convince you to stop doing what you're doing. Okay. Good night. Bye.
And that's such a good point. Finding people that surround you, that encourage you to be happy and be you, is important. And that will show up in your life. If your life is centered around hating another person or other people, then the people around you are not encouraging you in a healthy way. So she's going to find somebody or talk to somebody who's going to make her feel happy, and then encouraging the person who was just being a terrible human to her, encouraging them to do the same so that they can feel happier in and of themselves. Let's continue watching. We're almost here to the end. I'm going to go ahead and pause it real quick here. So this was recently released. This is the new face reveal that she just did. And it's so dramatic. It's fantastic. I love it. Let's watch. Something to note non-verbally throughout this. Obviously, this is all choreographed. It's probably been done again and again and again and again until they got the perfect take. However, during that take, what we're able to see is a non-verbal conveyance of confidence. A lot of exposing here of the neck, very open, and also even down to the confidence level of lowering the eyebrows and looking dead into the camera. These are all things that convey confidence and openness, and that's so important to be able to know, especially after this level of a transition, a physical transition that many ignorant people might throw hate at. To be able to have that level of confidence and openness it's a really wonderful thing to see. Let's see the other half of this, and then we'll talk about everything at the end. Okay, that was obviously much along the same lines, very, very theatrical, very, very edited and choreographed and so on and so forth. So as far as being able to see any nonverbal communication that's genuine or not, pretty difficult to say outside of how the prior clip was with the confidence and openness that's centered around in that. Now we're going to be able to see this kind of like little behind the scenes sort of footage, and then we'll be good.
That's a wrap on face reveal. Oh my gosh, hi, I missed you. You know I have a flair for the dramatics, but it's so good, right? I'm so happy, and it's still me. It's just a little bit softer of a version. And I just hope that all trans and non-binary people can get the gender-affirming resources that they need, because this is life-changing and sometimes life-saving. So thank you so much for supporting me, and we've got so much to catch up on. I love you.
And wrapping up there at the very, very end, you could see the smile genuinely reach her eyes as the muscles around there begin to contract, and you can see the wrinkles coming in. Genuine smile, genuine happiness, and contrasting that with the sadness that we saw in the earlier clips where she's talking about some of the difficulties psychologically that she's been having is fantastic to be able to see the difference between the two. And throughout all of her videos, her narrative verbally is always consistent and it's always positive. Hopefully anybody who is watching this channel and can relate to Dylan finds some safety knowing that at least I support you as well. Now, non-verbally speaking, what we were able to see throughout this was a person start off rather uncomfortable in their body, how they behaved and how they presented. Then, as time went on and they began to psychologically understand themselves and be able to take that time to introspect and self-explore, to where eventually we're able to see at the very, very end with this new glamorous big reveal, a very, very happy Dylan, very synchronized throughout, displaying as she feels the best displaying. Kudos to Dylan for their transition, for being so open with it, and then also letting so many people in on the transition journey as well to be able to relate to them, hopefully find some safety, security, and community with them. Very, very positive thing, very encouraging. So if you did like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Go and check out Dylan. She's very active over on TikTok largely. Again, like I said, she's also on Instagram and the other socials, but TikTok's the way to go about it. And so if you'd like to be able to see some of her content, especially as she continues this journey, I suggest going and doing that, linked in the description of this video. But without further ado, that's all that I've got for the day. My name is Logan, and you have been oh so awesome as you always are, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.